Alright, so let's start for today. So this will be the session flow for today. We will be seeing what is alt price. We will be focusing on the theme of the year. Then how to identify opportunities, putting that particular opportunity or idea on paper, and how to pitch your idea. First of all, let's start with a video on what alt price is. Let me know if the audio is if you can hear the audio from the video.
No, we can't hear it.
One second. Was the audio? Were you able to hear the audio?
No, no, we are not.
Uh, Give me a second.
Hello, sir. If you are casting the video, then the audio might be able, you might be able to hear the audio. If you are
Sorry, I'm not able
just sharing the screen, if you're just sharing the screen, there is an issue with me that sometimes the audio doesn't work.
Yeah, I will just share my screen once again and try.
Can you cast whatever video you want to do? It would work actually.
So there are multiple videos, so it would be a little tough to transfer, but let's try once.
Okay.
Let me know when it's audible. Was it audible?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Arinan, can you share the screen?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Probably there's some issue with my audio.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Is it audible?
No, not audible.
Covers not more.
Is this video on YouTube? Uh,
All right. So give me a second. I will just play the video normally. I think that would do the trick. All right. I will just share my screen, and hopefully it should be audible now. Let me know when the video is audible. Is it audible? Hello.
yeah, it's not audible. Like if there's an option to just share the tab. If you can do that, it might be audible, I think.
Yeah, I did that only. Let
Like
me try again. Maybe.
share just that Chrome tab. Share one Chrome
Okay.
tab.
All right. Let's try this.
I love the Holt
Yes,
Prize.
audible now.
You, in so many ways, represent the future. The Holt Prize is about more even than the solution to the problem advanced. It's about how the world has to work in the 21st century.
You've heard all of the entrepreneurs in the NGO space say that charity is not enough. Well, if charity is not enough, then what is? It's business.
All right. So, first of all, welcome to Hult Prize. Hult Prize is one of the world's biggest social entrepreneurship challenges in the world. Uh, okay, I will again have to share my screen probably. Sorry for the issues. Is the PPT visible?
It isn't. We have to stop sharing and then share the whole screen.
Is the PPT visible?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So Hult Prize is currently happens in 200 countries across the world, and it also happens in 150 colleges across India. So it is one of the biggest social entrepreneurship competitions. It is a big platform for all of us students to become change makers, to impact our society, impact the people around us, and to impact the world at large. Every year, Hult Prize releases a certain theme on which students across the world in teams try to find out solutions, try to find out ideas, and build it into an entrepreneur venture. Hult Prize is also backed by the UN and Mr. Bill Clinton. It is also deemed as a Nobel Prize for students. And as some of you might already be knowing, the total prize money for Hult Prize is over 1 million. You get to present at the UN headquarters in front of the dignitaries and Mr. Bill Clinton himself, along with getting an accelerator program in the New York. So this is why Hult Prize is considered one of the most reputed competitions. Coming to the theme for this year's Hult Prize, I will be showing you a video about the theme. So this video won't need an audio, so I think it should be fine. food is considered as one of the greatest levelers in the world. Food is something which connects us across boundaries, across the world, across countries. Food. So this year's theme is food for good. Food, which we consider as a basic necessity, which we consider for granted, is a luxury for many. There are still millions of people in the world who do not have enough to eat, who do not have the required food quality, and die of malnutrition every year. So this year's theme is particularly very important due to COVID scenario as well, where the supply chains have broken, where scarcity of food has increased, and the need and the demand for food is on an increase as well. If one of you would want to take an initiative or volunteer to tell what you feel or why you feel the theme for this year is particularly important, anyone can volunteer.
Yeah, I guess I'll do it.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So, like, particularly with COVID, the current crisis that's going on in the world in lockdown, we've begun to understand that, like, the manufacturing sector, the primary sector, is one of the most important ones to us. More than the service sector and all that. Like, we understand the value of the whole food supply chain sector, especially because China's like slowly getting out of the picture, which brings us to the necessity of a new system right now to satisfy the whole world's hunger.
Great. So precisely one of the reasons why this year's theme is totally relevant, and food for good is something which everyone can relate to, and which everyone has certain ideas on how to improve it. So let's see some of the ideas, and let's see what can be done in this particular theme, and how to generate ideas to be an entrepreneur. The first point to be an entrepreneur is to search for a problem that is currently being faced by someone in your society, in the world, in your city, or anywhere around you. When you identify the problem, you find a solution to it, a solution that is novel, a solution that can work well, and that can solve that particular problem for your customer. When you are able to do anything well, and you are the best in that particular area in solving that particular problem, charging money or charging an amount to give that solution is a no-brainer. Everyone would be ready to give you money, and there starts your business, there starts your startup, and you become an entrepreneur. So let's see some very interesting ideas in food for good domain about what you can do, about what kind of solutions or problems you can think, and what makes these entrepreneurs different from the rest of us.
I ordered for idli sambar, and the spoon is put in it. So as he was putting the spoon, I grabbed it from his hand, I ran my thumb on it, it was greasy. I took a sniff of it, it was already smelling of sambar. It's being reused. We know plastic has got so many chemical complexes in it, phthalates, chelates, bisphenols. These cause cancer, these leach into food, they don't biodegrade, but still we're using a whole lot of plastic disposable cutlery. Why are we doing this? Answer obviously is there is no alternative. Oh well, we have an alternative now. We're coming with an alternative, and that is edible cutlery. Here there is no coating, in fact it is entirely nutritious. You can eat up the spoon. Delicious. It is made of jowar blended with rice and wheat without preservatives, just like dehydrated vegetables. Our product also has a very long shelf life of more than 3 years. In fact, you can even have your hot soup also. You can stir your sugar and have your tea. You can eat it up. You don't want to eat it, you can just throw it. It decomposes within 4 to 5 days.
विश्वास नहीं हुआ। पहले बार देखे तो लकड़ी समझी मैं, मगर गांव में स्टार्ट होके काम शुरू किया बाद साग में डाल के अपन खाए, बहुत टेस्टी रहता मैडम।
Would anyone of you want to take a guess on what problem this is solving?
Plastic pollution.
Right. So, whenever we are eating outside, plastic cutlery is one of the biggest problems. Plastic is not decomposable, plastic is not biodegradable, and whatever plastic we waste or we use, it directly goes either to the oceans or to the landfills. A problem that is mounting and increasing each and every year because we don't have a solution to it. So that's why this person came up with the idea of edible cutlery. You can eat it, that's biodegradable, and that's also healthy, along with coming in different flavors, which accentuates the taste of your food. So essentially, they are trying to solve a problem that they saw, that they encountered, and they build their idea into a startup. Let's move on to one another idea that some of you might already be knowing about.
In the age of food delivery apps like Uber Eats, Skip the Dishes, and DoorDash, it's hard to imagine this type of convenience without the technology. But there is one food delivery service which sends out more than 200,000 meals a day and has been doing so for the past 130 years. They are the Mumbai Dabbawalas, also known as Dabbawalas. In about 4 hours, they deliver home-cooked meals to people at work every day, and all without using modern technology. Mumbai Dabbawalas employs about 5,000 people. Many of them have had little to no education and have never learned to read. So, how do they keep these orders in order? The Dabbawalas get on their bicycles around 9 a.m. and pick up homemade lunches from their assigned neighborhoods, which are generally the same every day, using what's called dabbas, or Indian lunchboxes. After picking up the lunchboxes, usually made by the partners, parents, or house staff of the intended recipient, they have until 10:30 a.m. to bike to the nearest train station. Over the next hour, they load all of the lunchboxes on the train. This is where keeping track of everything gets really tough, but they use a pretty basic trick. A vital part of their delivery service is a coding system, so the lids are labeled with letters, numbers, and symbols indicating where these lunchboxes have to be delivered to, who's delivering them, and the homes where they came from. Between 11:30 and 12, the Dabbawalas offload from the train and continue sorting. Between noon and 1, they deliver lunches to their clients. During this hour, over 200,000 deliveries are made across Mumbai.
They all kind of have to work together in harmony in order to allow sort of the Dabbawalas to perform sort of at the level of performance.
The Mumbai Dabbawalas are known for being punctual with their deliveries. Their mission statement since they first started running in 1890 has been to always deliver on time.
All right. Would anyone want to take a shot and identify the problem that these Dabbawalas are solving?
Good food.
Sorry, I could not hear you.
Eating healthy food.
Exactly, not exactly right. If anyone would want to take another shot at it.
Availability of food to working class people.
Yes, availability of home cooked food to working class people without them having to carry it to their offices or bringing back the lunches. So it's not about the scale. Sorry, it's not about the money that they have. These people do not have, the Dabbawalas do not have too much money. It's basically a community run model, but the idea is really scalable. You can launch it in Mumbai, you can launch it in Delhi, you can launch it in any metropolitan city. And that's one of the most important parts when you are considering to be open a startup, when you are considering to be an entrepreneur. Your idea should be such that it should be scalable, it should be replicable. Even when we were seeing the spoons idea, It was a product based idea. You once launch a product and then you can sell it in Mumbai, you can sell it in Calcutta, you can sell it in Chennai, you can sell it in USA. Doesn't matter. The idea and the impact should be good, and the idea sells for itself. So this is the one of the most important part. Again, the second part is the impact. The idea that you do or that you think of should be novel. It should not be a copied idea, or it should not be that something that is already being solved in a better manner. And the idea should be impactful for the people. It should be solving a real problem which is troubling for everyone. Let's see another idea and listen to what your views are on that particular idea.
Well, in 2009, a virtual farm gaming startup, FarmVilla, took internet by storm, more specifically Facebook, where millions of people went online to have their own virtual farms. And they were sowing seeds, taking care of the farm, and harvesting virtual fruits and vegetables. But what if I tell you, you can do all that in real time, on a real farm, and can harvest real fruits and vegetables? So we are in one of your farms. Tell us about what is Farmizon and what is this real-time farm villa that you're doing?
The idea is very simple. As a consumer, today we are not able to get safe, traceable food, right? So because of that, a lot of us have started growing our own food in balconies and terrace gardens, etc., right? But there are two problems that we usually face. The two problems are, one is of space, right? If you have a small balcony, we can't grow enough food ourselves. The second problem is that of time, right? Because even if I have space, I live in a big house, it will take a lot of effort for me to actually go ahead and take the continuous care that is required to grow my own food, right? So those two problems are what we wanted to necessarily solve. So the way we do it is very simple, right? Consumers have an app, right? And using that app, they book a mini farm. A mini farm is 600 square feet in size, right? And you as a consumer, you use the app to control what you want to plant in each of them, right? For example, this consumer has said, let me put palak here, let me put cabbage there, let me put brinjals there, let me put tomatoes there, and so on and so forth. So when you do all of these things, farmers actually go ahead and plant those on the ground, right? So all of the actions you are taking on the app are actually getting implemented on the field, and that's how it's different from the virtual farm bill. You can come and harvest your own produce yourself whenever the produce is ready, and you can know it through the app as well, right? So you get updates like your tomatoes are now flowering, your brinjals are ready to harvest, etc. But if you can't come and harvest your own produce, we'll anyway home deliver it to you every week.
And what's in it for farmers? I mean, why do they want to partner with you?
See, India's farmers are in a lot of distress, right? When consumers subscribe for this service, they are paying every month, right? So farmers' cash flows are taken care of, right? They don't have to wait for 3 months to get their first money. There is no price.
All right. Would anyone want to again take a shot at what are the problems that we are trying to solve here?
Value co-creation for both farmers and people who are not able to do balcony farming but have will to do the balcony farming.
Yes. So along with that, they are also providing you organic food directly at your doorstep. Whatever food that you want to grow, something that you can monitor, something that you are totally sure of that it's organic, and it's you can trust on them because you are able to monitor them in real time. Again, so if you saw, the person took the idea from the Facebook game FarmVilla. So to generate ideas for your startup or your entrepreneurship, all you need to do is keep your eyes open. The idea might come from anywhere. It might be something that you observed, it might be something that got famous in other industry. For example, the idea of Ola came from Uber, or for the idea of Swiggy came from Zomato. So the idea can come from a similar industry, from a different industry, from a problem that you have seen and you are trying to solve. You have encountered that problem, or it might be even a random game. Once you have the problem in hand, once you have thought about the solution, now the part comes where you need to put it on paper. Please let me know if the slides are visible, so that we can proceed forward. Are the slides visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Yeah.
Already.
Yes, yes, it's
So
visible.
now to put the idea on paper, what we do is create a business model canvas. So this is a bit how of what the business canvas model looks like. On the left are the key partners of the organization. Partners means whoever third parties are needed to run our business successfully. Along with that are the key activities. That is, what kind of activities are we doing? For example, for McDonald's, it is making fast food. For example, Swiggy is in the business of making deliveries. In key resources, we mentioned the human resources, financial resources, along with any other kind of information resources, etc., which might be important to run our business. In the value proposition, we mention about what problem we are solving, about what is the unique selling point for our idea or our startup. In the customer relationship part, we mention what is our relationship with the customer, how do we engage with them. It might be one on one, it might be one on many, it might be a direct service, it might be direct to home. On channels, we focus on how do we target the potential customers or how do we interact with our customer base. So it might be through Facebook, it might be through emails, it might be through calls, it might be through a customer care center, anything. In the customer segments are the people who pay for our idea, who are willing to pay money to purchase or to buy our idea. For example, for Swiggy, the target audience would be working class population who might be from 35 to 50, who would be the most interested people in ordering food. Last, coming to the bottom left, that is the cost structure of the organization or the startup. So here you mentioned what are the costs that you would be encountering when you start this idea. And on the right are the revenue streams. How would you be generating income or how would you be generating the revenue uh, to, to mitigate these costs and to generate a profit for yourself. So basically, a business model canvas helps an investor see what is the idea and what are the different aspects of your startup and how does it all fit on one piece of paper. Taking an example of a business model canvas for Swiggy, as you might have guessed, key partners are the restaurants and shops which provide the food for deliveries, along with the delivery providers who are the key partners of the organization. In the key activities, there is partnerships with different kinds of restaurants. There is hiring of delivery agents and service providers, along with the management part. In the key resources, the most important part resource is the food, which comes from the local restaurants and the shops which Swiggy partners with, along with the technology part. The technology here consists of Swiggy's app, along with the way they manage their delivery process. So what is the value proposition? That is a unique selling point. They give you food delivery with no restrictions. They give you different and variable options for payment, and there are no minimum order requirements. In the customer relationships, you have an active customer support for all your orders, and they also interact with you at their social media pages. For channels, they have a different mobile app separately. They have their own website, and they also focus on digital marketing. Coming to customer segments, people who do not wish to go out to restaurants due to any reason. For example, in COVID, you might have already seen it's the reason of hygiene, or people who prefer the convenience of getting food delivered at their homes are the main customer segments for Swiggy. Coming to the cost structure, so majority of their cost is in the payroll expenses of their employees, along with the development part of their app and website, and maintenance charge that they give to the delivery partners, along with maintaining the channels. How do they earn their revenue? Is through delivery charges, commissions, through options like Swiggy Super and Swiggy Access, and advertisements. So this is how we make a business model canvas of any organization. If any one of you have any queries or questions on the business model canvas part, then we can take it before moving forward. You can unmute yourself and speak, or you can post it in the chat.
Hello.
Yes,
Am I
please go
audible?
on.
Yeah, like for the revenue stream, that advertising part, could you please elaborate on that? That is not clear. Like how
Yeah.
to generate revenue from advertising.
So whenever you order from Swiggy in metropolitan cities, they also usually have a pamphlet of any particular restaurant which they deliver with the food. So that restaurant pays Swiggy some certain amount to get their advertisement done through Swiggy channels. Or you might have seen there was a collaboration between Pepsi and Swiggy, where with each order Swiggy was delivering a free Pepsi to each to all of their customers. So Pepsi gave money to Swiggy to actually conduct this campaign. So that is a kind of an advertisement revenue where companies are paying Swiggy to get their advertisement done.
Okay. So I have a doubt. Like
Mhm.
earlier you mentioned like the how good our idea is like actually kind of more important than our revenue model seems. But like
Yes.
like the thing is like earlier we saw the video about like that edible cutlery.
Yes.
So what I'm thinking is like those kind of spoons and all like it will like uh, need some like extra cost for making than rather like other plastic spoons. So even though it is for a good cause, usually the restaurants and shops will be a bit reluctant to pay more money for these.
Yeah, exactly. You are exactly right. But at that point of time, that we come to the customer segment part. So while you are focusing on a customer segment of normal restaurants, what if we provide a similar experience to people who are going to the high end restaurants, who can use a different experience, or we provide it to someone going to a hill station where plastic is not allowed. So we basically we need to think of different customer segments of our product so that we can sell it effectively. You might be right that in India the implementation part of that idea might be low, but consider the exports of it. What about the developed countries like USA, France, Europe, anyone who would be so interested to actually have this idea instead of using the plastic spoon or a plastic cutlery? And through there you get the revenue. So when you are generating and when you are deciding upon an idea, when you are deciding on what to do, the major focus should be on the idea part. But once you have started, once you are going to an investor to get money, or once you are going to make a pitch, that is where the business model canvas comes in. And when you are making a business model canvas, you need to show everything to the investor, because they are devoting money to your startup, right? So if they are devoting money to your startup, they need to see when would they be able to recover, what is the profit that you are making, and what are the different aspects of your business.
Got it.
Does that clear it a bit?
Yeah, yes, it makes sense. Thank you.
Any other queries? All right. So let's move on to the next BMC. This is the business model canvas of KFC. In key partnerships, they have an exclusive contract with Pepsi, in which no Coke but only Pepsi would be sold in all of the KFC stores. They also have key partnership with their food raw material suppliers. That is basically the chicken and all the raw materials that are needed to make KFC products. In the key activities, they do marketing and management of the logistics. They also do catering and franchisee management. The value proposition is the tasty food, the fast food that they serve to their customers, and the secret recipe. In customer relationships, the customer relationships basically happens over the counter whenever you go and order the food, and whenever the delivery is made to your home by the KFC partners. In channels, they have their own restaurants. They are available to you through phone or through website. In the customer segments, as you can see, it is fast food lovers. Second is the franchisee model. So many people who want to open a franchisee of KFC pay huge amount to KFC just for using the brand name. So franchisee is also one customer segment which pays huge revenue to KFC. Coming to the cost structure, branding, marketing, and communication is the major cost, along with obviously the salary of the employees and raw material, and along with storage and maintenance of the restaurants. In revenue stream, selling of food and franchising are the two major revenue streams. Advertisement can also be one which can be exploited. Any queries in this particular business model canvas? All right, so let's move forward. Once we are done putting our idea on paper, once we have a business model canvas on hand, then the time comes to pitch your idea. You would be pitching to investors, you would be pitching to jury in the Hull prize as well, and you would be asking for a certain sum of money which you want them to invest in your startup so that you can scale it up. You can expand to different regions, you can expand to different product lines, you can expand to different ideas. So let's see a video of how elevator pitch should be made for any startup or any idea.
My name is Josh Light, and I'm the CEO of Cupad, and we believe that we have the most effective form of advertising available in the market today. Our advertisements are exposed to customers for 2,220 seconds on average. Now, what kind of advertising has that kind of exposure time? Ladies and gentlemen, we advertise on coffee cups. That's right, we put your brand in their hand. So how does coffee cup advertising work? Well, we got an advertiser. They pay us money. We produce paper coffee cups with their advertisement or brand on it. Then we give these coffee cups to coffee stands for free. Now, why does someone want to advertise on a coffee cup? Because it takes an individual 37 minutes to drink a cup of coffee on average. That person's going to have to look at the cup, drink, look at the cup, drink 20 times before it's fully consumed. And that person's going to move around like a mobile billboard, exposing that brand to at least 6 different individuals before that cup is drank. What's in it for Cupad? We make 13 cents of profit on every single cup that we distribute. And what's in it for the coffee stands? Well, when most people think about coffee stands, they think about Starbucks. But what about the 25,000 coffee stands in this nation that have plain white cups like this? They don't have the economies to scale to put their own brand on the cup. So we give them free cups. They save $15,000 a year by not buying cups. They like these savings so much, ladies and gentlemen, that approximately 80% of the stands that we've contacted have signed exclusivity agreements to distribute our cups. And what kind of momentum have we started for this company? The last month alone, we got 58 coffee stands in California to sign exclusivity agreements with us to distribute our cups. If we continue to get 58 coffee stands every single month, for the next 12 months, we will have 700 coffee stands at the end of the year. With 700 coffee stands, we can move 8 million cups a month. And at 13-cent profit, 8 million cups a month, we're making over $1 million of profit every single month. And we've already started this, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, our first customer, Overstock.com, will see their cups hit the California market in 21 days. Thank you very much.
So in the 2 minutes time, this person explained the startup, explained the revenue, explained the scale, explained about the customers, explained about the problem that they are solving, and explained about the target consumer. So basically, any elevator pitch that you do is more like a 90-second to 120-second pitch in which you have to explain your idea in a form of a story to a potential investor. Would anyone like to take a guess? Who is the target consumer for this particular idea, or who is the target customer? Would anyone want to volunteer?
Service providers.
Sorry, I could not hear you.
Service providers.
Anyone who want to advertise their product?
Yes. So as I can see in the chat, some of you are also mentioning coffee shops, but the customers are the people who provide revenue to the startups. So here the people who want to advertise or who have the services which they want to advertise are the revenue generators for the startup. These are the customers who would be providing money to this particular startup, and what they are doing is branding them on coffee cups and giving them for free to the coffee shop owners so that they can spread rapidly. So this is basically the business model. Coming to how do you actually make a simple elevator pitch, and how do you propose and your idea to any investor. I will just share my screen once again. So we have a simple template for pitching which all of you can use to pitch your idea. You mention about the problem, You mention about the USP or the advantage. You mention about your target consumer and what is the benefit that your target consumer is getting when by using your idea. So it would be like we solve the problem of advertisement by providing more advertising time to help our target consumers, that is our service providers, to get more brand visibility in front of their relevant customers. How do we make money? We make money by charging our customers to give them certain brand time. What are some certain tips that you can use for pitching your idea? Major focus should be on the core problem that your idea is solving. You should be able to tell why it is unique and why should the customer be involved, or why should the customer be willing to pay for your idea. Next part is you are making the investor pitch obviously in front of a potential investor, someone who has the money and you want that money. So you should also focus on what the investor has in it. As you might have seen in the video, the guy talked about what is the revenue, what is the potential of the revenue that they are going to make per month, and what is the scale of the operations. So through that, the investor will know that yes, I am spending say 10 lakh rupees, their revenue is 1 lakh per month. So I will be getting my money in almost 10 to 15 months of time. That by that way, the investor knows what time he is spending the money for, what will be the profit, and why he should invest in your startup and not any other startup. Next part is show how your idea can be scaled up. As the guy just mentioned in the video that he's starting from one market, but obviously they can sell coffee cups to millions of coffee shop owners across the country, and they can scale their idea very rapidly. Last part is show how your idea is going to make money and why would the target customer be interested in it. In this particular video, you would have noticed that they are increasing the brand visibility time very high, and each coffee cup is also shown to 6 more people when a person is drinking coffee. So that's how the brand visibility goes up, and that particular brand will profit from increased sales. And that's why the customer should be, that is the person who is advertising should be interested in them. So this was majorly about pitching. If any one of you have any queries about this particular segment that we just talked about or the video, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
As you said about it, but as I went into some of the pitching competitions, they also focus on the technicalities. But here, if my startup is related to technical, then
Yes.
Should we give the weight on technicalities, or should we follow this only, that we just make it a cakewalk for them?
See, first of all, it depends upon the type of investor that you are pitching. There are two types of investors. One, who get directly involved with your startup on a day-to-day basis, who want to know what is going in your startup, who want to contribute in whatever way they can. So for them, you would want to make a longer pitch in which you are also explaining the technology part. If the investor is such that he wants to give money and he's only focused on returns, then you try to give a simplified story kind of pitch so that the investor knows on what grounds he's going to make the money on, because that is the only point that he is interested in. Also, second thing that you should focus on is whether your idea is easily understandable or not. If the idea is a little complex, then you would want to explain a brief of the technology that you are going to use. For example, in the edible cutlery option, no one knows how edible cutlery is being made as of now. So when you are going to pitch that particular idea, the investor would be really interested to know how you are actually achieving that edible cutlery, how you are making that product. But if we consider this particular idea where there were just branding or printing on coffee cups, the investor already knows how to print or how the coffee cup is being made, right? So you don't need to explain the technology part here. So it totally depends upon your idea.
Thank you. Thank you much.
Any other queries?
So like when you pitch your presentation, should you be more involved with prototyping, or should you like show them how your work is going to show up in the end result.
Again, it comes to your idea. So some prototypes are very cheap to produce, and you can produce without having enough money. Like even if you have say 50,000 rupees, you can easily produce a prototype. For that, you should ideally have a prototype when you are approaching an investor. But say your idea is such that your prototype can be built only after the investment. For example, I want to launch a company which produces these edible spoons, right? So I would have to set up a whole plant to even produce one particular spoon. So I will need to show them some another proxy of my idea to get that investment, so that I can set up a plant and show them the product. It might be a survey from people where people are interested in buying such product. It might be some other company's product which is similar to yours, and that company is making money. It might be a prototype on computer, a video, an audio, or a simple pitch by which you are explaining your idea that if I get the money, I would be making this particular kind of thing, and give a proof that I have the relevant know-how and I have the relevant technology on how I want to achieve that particular goal. That is making the particular prototype or the particular product. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other queries?
Sir, I have posted a question in the chat box.
I'm not able to see the chat box.
Yeah, I'll read it out. So Alan asked, how far is the line drawn between an innovation of a product and calling it plagiarism? As in, if I'm making a small change to an existing business model or a product and selling it as my own in that context, like what's the line between innovation and
Okay,
plagiarism?
one second. I opened the chat. I will just read it once and then I will answer it. Yeah. So plagiarism is when you are not quoting the source of the idea, when you are just stealing the idea without referring to the source or the contributor. For example, if I start to sell Windows today without by quoting it as my own operating system and not Microsoft, that is plagiarism. But if consider what Apple did. Apple saw Microsoft create an operating system. Apple worked and created their own operating system and launched it as Apple's OS, right? So while the products are same, that is operating system, the internal technicalities, the internal features are totally different. So a product can be same, but obviously you need to have some difference when you are making a product. Coming to the service part of it, if you consider the model of Uber and Ola, they're almost the same. But Ola launched that particular model in the country when Uber was not here. Uber was in the USA. So Ola changed the target market or the country where they were operating. So that's also fine. You saw a model, you develop your own technology, and you almost replicated that model and try to leverage the know-how of your own target country. So they were not directly competing, or they were not using Uber's resources to promote their idea. Hence, it was not plagiarism, but a different startup. Seeing Ola flourish in the country, Uber also saw an opportunity, and Uber also launched in the Indian market. So that's totally fine. That's how the industry develops, and that's how the industry grows, or from one idea, from one particular startup. That's what we call an ecosystem of idea or ecosystem of startups. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.